And I hate to say it, but I don't suggest this mod. Stock. Mod. Alright, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the show. Today we're going to do a few more things to this amp. And, this is really just, taking this amp from the very beginning of it. I got it, it was busted when I got it, and just getting it up and working right. So maybe some of the things that I go through here can help you out. And it's a learning process for me too. And, I feel like every amp that I open up is just a brand new thing to me. I've worked on a few amps now. Can't say I know everything about them, but I definitely want this to be a community kind of thing where people come in and chime in the comments. And with this series, people can go through and do a good bit of research, and I'll post what I can from what I've found online and stuff. And really, I'm just following along what people have already tested and what's worked for them. This is episode 4, so we just went through the jumper mod, which turned out really awesome. So I felt like it was a dark amp before, and with that jumped, I feel like I have a lot more room to really brighten this amp up if I need to. It just seems like more of a natural kind of sweep for any of these knobs. Today, what we're trying to do, and what I'm going to do for each of these videos, is get a bass line. So after I've done the mods and I come to the next video, I'm going to go back to it and record before I do the mods, and then record after I do the mods. Just so we can have a good baseline of what these things are actually doing, and if this is something that you want to do yourself or not. Right now, I need to figure out what's going on with the hum. I haven't pulled up my phone to look at it, see if it's 60 hertz or 120 hertz. It's pretty low sounding, so I would think it was 60 hertz. Well, I don't know. It's hard to say because it's like it almost doubles. There's like a low and a high. Anyways, I do have my electrolytic caps today. The filter caps, so I will be swapping those out on this guy. Also today we're also going to go through the R100 mod, and yeah, I kind of messed it up with the last video. I said that was R100. It's not. That was the patch mod, and the R100 mod is going to help with, it's basically going to act like a noise gate, just like it's kind of funny because I have the JSX here, just like this noise gate here, and I use it all the time. I use it up to around like 2-3 o'clock or so, and it just cleans up the tone a lot. I'm not decided whether I want to do a flip switch or not, or do a potentiometer, so I'll just kind of figure that out whenever I get in there and do that. But let's just see how it goes. All right, let's go ahead and get the bass line for this amp. Right, everything is at noon, especially the gain. I do have the boost volume in and the gain volume in. The volume, I'm going to keep that the same throughout this whole series, or try to. It's at like the first dot. Yeah, first dot from 0. Then all the EQs at noon. I have the reverb turned down even though it's not connected. And I have the presence and resonance at noon as well. So I'm going to try to keep it that way, so we have a reference to whenever we go back after the mod and just see what it sounds like. And I'm not going to move the mics or anything, so we can get that. So let's go ahead and jam something out here. Now, if you like what you're hearing, it's a new song that I'm writing for the band Icons of Sin, our band. So anyways, there's the bass line. I'll do a couple chugs here. This is definitely not how I would dial the amp in, but I wanted a consistent sound throughout these mods. Let's see, maybe I should play a little bit of like... tell if I'm playing a Randy Rhoads, right? Get some Ozzy in there. Let me see if there's anything else I should play just for reference sake. Okay, let's go on and do some mods. So there's one thing I want to say before I go in there and do this, and I did read somewhere a good way to discharge this amp, and because I already did the discharging amp thing, is if you go ahead and leave the standby on, or where the amp is on, and then just go ahead and use the power switch, and then go ahead and flip that switch off while the standby is on. So that is supposed to actually help out with draining the caps and stuff. So let's test that theory too. I think this is just a thing that I really want to help people out, and you know, especially doing the safe things, you know, and just kind of verifying a few things. And yeah, maybe some of the things are different on my amp than what people have done on theirs, but I just want to give some kind of baseline to all this kind of stuff, because there's just so much information out there, and I really want to consolidate it for you guys. Anyways, what I'm gonna do is, as you can see, it's on and everything, and I'm going to switch it off. Hopefully that discharges the caps. But the thing is, make sure that you flip the switch back to standby, to off, before you turn the amp back on. Because that standby acts as a protection to, you know, keep from voltage spikes and stuff. So yeah, we'll go in there and test it and see if it actually discharged it at all. Okay, so first things first, let's go ahead and check to see if that actually helped discharging those caps. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my voltage meter at volts. This thing can withstand up to like 600 volts, so I don't ever really have to worry about too much, because these are great for amps. Okay, I want you guys, like for every video that I'm going to do, I am going to put up here that you should go check out the discharging video, and you guys are going to have to get used to me saying that, because not everybody's going to go through the series of this. So right here, check out that video before you start looking at this and trying to do this your own. But since we did that, the standby switch on and then turn the power off, let's find out if it actually discharged. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in my my negative into the ground there, and let's take a look. It helped, because before it was what, 170 or something. So this is still, you know, it's still a good bit. You still have to worry about that. I hope I don't have to say this, but basically make sure there's like some rubber on here, because you don't want to be touching metal, obviously, right? Just want to make sure that's put across. Okay, my friends, we are discharged and we are ready to start working on this board. So obviously on the front here, I'm going to have to take off these knobs, and you know, I've already kind of pulled off a bunch of the nuts and all that. To do this, I probably got to take one off, and the plastic nuts. I use those just to kind of hold it in place. Just because I'm going to do this, you know, series, I wanted to make it fairly easy to take apart and put it back together. and test each one of these mods as I go through them. So yeah, let's go ahead, take this all apart. Wonderful. And I usually like to take this standby switch off too, just because it's tied into this board. All right. So the whole idea of this is that we're going to pull this board so we can work on it, because I need to replace these guys. Okay, I'm gonna take that off. Take that off. I'm gonna pull these out. And also, there's a few screws. There's one there, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 screws that you would need to take out to get to this preamp board. So I'm gonna take those out. Take that out so I can get to it. You know what? I don't like how that's just kind of hanging on there. Well, this seems okay. I might redo that, to tell you the truth. So, okay. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and pull these out. I like to number these. So before you start working on this amp, go ahead and number these so you will always know which one goes to which here, because there's the bias supply, there's the low voltage and the high voltage. So you definitely don't want to mix those up. There we go. Those are out the way. And I believe I can just... You gotta work with this a little bit because the reverb pins on the bottom of the board just kind of make it so it's kind of stuck in there. So you gotta kind of work it out. Oh, and remember to take out your freaking preamp tubes. Oh my god, that was stupid. So there we go. There is our preamp board. Now I did have to add a few jumpers to this piece just because these pads are pretty bad, and if you're not careful you can burn them right off of the board. So I had to create a wire to connect to the actual components. First thing I want to do is go ahead and change out these capacitors. Mouser has a great selection of inventory there, and it was kind of hard to find these, to tell you the truth. These were 550 volts and 100 UF. So there's 3 of them, so I went ahead and just got all 3. I think it was like 30 bucks, to tell you the truth, so they were not exactly cheap. So there they are. Negative is labeled there. Obviously this rail here is going to be the negative that's attached to ground there. So we'll be working with that. And I love these little baggies. I have so many of these since I've ordered so much stuff. So I've already worked at getting these out, and it was a pain in the butt. Just because of that plasticky, as you can see, I had to score the bottom of it, and I almost pretty much cut through it because I wasn't all super careful with it. But that's part of the reason why I want to go ahead and switch these out to see if I can get that hum to go away. So I'm going to go ahead and desolder these guys. What I like to do is start with a little bit of solder to kind of heat up the elements. Just makes it easier to use one of these little sucker tools. Go in there and just get everything kind of heated up, and there we go. pretty decent. I'll have to work it out a little bit here. All right, that came out pretty good. So let's just go ahead and do all of them. Let's see. Yeah, I already added solder to these because I took these out to test them. So they're doing pretty good. Positive comes off pretty good because, you know, it's not tied to this rail here. So what I'll probably have to do is kind of hold on to one of these and work on, there you go. Believe me, it does not come off that easy. All right, so there's that. All right, so negative is on the top. Sorry, probably not showing you, but I have to kind of put a little heat on it so it can go in there nicely. Get it as close as possible. This is why it's good to discharge your board, because you're going to be touching everything. Okay, so that's kind of in there. I'm going to go ahead. All right. Flow it in there. Okay. Wonderful. There's one. All right. So here's the second one. All right, number 2. So I guess a tip for soldering is you don't want to melt the solder onto the component. Usually you want the component that you want to have solder on it, you want that to be hot. So you're kind of heating up whatever you're trying to put solder on, and then let the solder melt to it. That will give you the best outcome with soldering. All right. Oh, so these are, I don't know if you care, but these are Rubicons. I don't know if they're awesome or whatever, but these are the other ones. Look at that size difference. Same thing, but they're the same rating. They're smaller. Smaller is better, right? In this case. Sometimes it won't go in a hole really well, so you're just gonna have to kind of heat up the solder around it so it can get there. Get this guy on there. I swear, no matter where I'm at, solder's always coming straight at my face. I do have a fan over there. I'm just a little lazy to turn it on and stuff. And for the volume of my voice, so you guys can hear it. Okay. Those look pretty good. Wonderful. There's big, beautiful caps. Okay. I will be putting some silicone around this so they're sturdy. That's why those were there in the first place anyways. I'll go ahead and, since the R1 mod is super easy, I don't have an on-on switch. So I was hoping to actually have it on a switch so I can go back and forth. So that means I am going to have to drill into this. Now, I will be using that same hole more than likely for a little switch, a flip switch or something. As you can see, let's see, R100 is right there. Do that. Probably can see better. Right there. So that's what we're hooking up to. Usually you can just take it, just to do this mod, you know, just so you can have it done. And if you like what you hear, then you can just go ahead and jumper it. Basically taking a resistor leg, like these are all my resistor legs that I've already chopped off and stuff, the leads. And you can take this and just kind of bend it over the top of it and solder it on there. And then you'd be good to go. So if you like this mod, which a lot of people do, go ahead and do that. It's supposed to clean up the distortion. I think I need to get to drilling. Question is where. So this sits here. R100's here, so I'll probably do it right here. That way I can utilize the same hole for, you know, the JCM 800 mod or a gain mod or whatever mod I do. Because if I like this, I'm more than likely just going to jumper it. I just want to get a variable of what it would be with and without. So let's check it out. So this works out. I thought what I had was on, off, on, but this is just a 2 switch. It's an on, on, so that's perfect. That'll work perfectly for what we need. And what I'll do is I'll put the resistor across here. So basically when it's switched up this way, it's going to engage these guys. And then when I switch it this way, it's going to engage these two. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the resistor on 1, whichever way is off. So basically saying it's just a stock VK. And then whenever I switch it over this way, I'm just going to put a jumper between these two. It'll basically do the resistor on one side, so stock VK, and then jumping that. So let's try it. So as you can see, I just kind of popped a little jumper in there. I'm going to solder it in place. And you don't have to do it the way I'm doing. I'm just making sure it sticks in there pretty well. So there's the jumper there. There you go. So basically when it's over here, it engages this side and it'll turn that on. And what I'll also do is I'll connect the middle to the actual board over here. So, and I'm going to take that resistor off of there and put it over here. I am going to go ahead and use the same one. So I'm going to desolder it so I can use it. So it's the second one down. There's that cap and then that. Okay. Soldering iron here. Heat that up a little bit. Okay. Magnetized alligator clips are awesome. Love these things. I can put that up there. Grab a hold of this leg. There we go. All right. There's R100. We're going to go ahead and pop that onto this little switch here. And there you go. There's a resistor on that side and just a jumper on that. So we're essentially jumping over, but I'm giving us the ability to see what it's like with it and without it. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the 2 wires here, connect them to where it was, and we're good to go. Oh, and we don't have to worry about direction as to where they're hooked up on the board, because it's not like a directional kind of thing. It just goes the same way. All right, so now it's drilling time. This is some kind of makeshift thing that I like to do, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stick this piece of tape around. This isn't perfect, but this will help catch any kind of debris that comes from this. So, because you don't want that debris on your board at all. I'm going to start with the pilot hole. I'm just going to grab a smaller bit and go ahead and start drilling. Alright, that'll start the hole. Just give me a place to actually do it. What I like to do is find a drill bit that's just a little bit bigger than the than the actual thread that's going through it. So as long as that works out, then you're good to go. So let's give that a shot. There we go. There's our little hole. Not a bad spot. It's not perfectly aligned. That's okay. I'm not too worried about that. This is mine. I'll go back here. Just kind of use this to pick up any stuff. Perfect. So I have one of those extension magnets. I like using magnets to just kind of pick up any of the little residue that could be sitting around here. Also need to deburr the hole, just like a sanding paper or something. So that'll sit in there, just like that. I can flip the switch. Perfect. Okay, so I pre-cut some wire. I figured I'll use yellow for anything that's that I don't need to differentiate the color of the wire. So that way I can tell, like, hey, this is a mod that I've done. So all we're gonna do is gonna shove those in the hole. That's what she said. I don't like those jokes. So here's that one. You know, I think the leg is still in there. I can do the toothpick method, pushing it out. Take my wire. Okay. Now we'll solder these guys in. Okay. So you guys can see. Now let's see. So when you're in close quarters like that, and I don't know if that's supposed to be connected or not with the resistors and all, but I need to triple check. I guess they are supposed to be connected. All right, let's look at the schematic. It's looking like we're good here. We can move on. I looked at the schematic, and whatever did have continuity should have continuity. So I'm gonna go ahead and snip these leads. And there's that. And now we're going to solder. Okay, those are in. All right, now I just need to go ahead and pop them in here. Twist them up. Just like so. Those bent over. Go ahead and solder that. So be careful with these things, because if you heat this up too much, you will melt the wax and it may lose connection to the actual switch. So you don't want to do too much. If you start feeling that switch starting to move because you heat it up too much, that's a problem. You may have killed it. And I've learned that the hard way. I'm going to cut little bits here, and there we are. Now the question is, when this is in, I want it to be this way, because up will be the mod, down will be the resistor. That's kind of where it is. There's the mod, and so basically when I flip it up, it's on, down, it's off. VK mode, mod. Cool. go into the other room. Before we go in there, this is something you guys should know if you plan on doing stuff like this. Something called a light bulb limiter. So what this does is checks for shorts, so you don't like blow fuses and all that stuff. But if something's really wrong, it could light up your board. So what we're going to do is use this light bulb limiter. I'm connected to that guy, to the power outlet. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and plug this guy in. All right, and now what this is going to do is when I flip this on, it's going to tell me, it's going to be very bright if there's a short, if I've done something wrong with it. So we did put those electrolytic caps in there. God, I can't talk today. And let's find out what happens. All right, so far so good. That's what you want to happen. It goes bright and then it starts to dim out. But if it's a short, then it will stay bright, really bright. And let's go ahead and turn it all the way on. Let's bring the volume down. Okay, that's what we want. It would be super bright if this was going to blow a fuse. So let's go ahead and see what it sounds like. Okay, so it's back up on the cab. And there's our little switch. So basically right now when it's down, it is in the VK mode, and then when it's up, it's in the mod mode. So let's see what the R100 mod does. Alright, so we just did the R100 mod, and apparently I was confused about that because I made a whole video about this thing thinking it did one thing, but it was not that thing. And I do want to document this because there is confusion around these mods and what they're supposed to do and what they actually do. So now that I've gone through and made a whole video thinking it was doing this certain thing when it's not, let's go ahead and correct basically everything I said. So the first clue was the fact that I know that when you change so this is an on switch. On one side is the jumper and the other side is the 1 meg resistor. At first, my understanding of it was this is supposed to be a noise gate, which it is. The mod is not the noise gates, okay? What is already in there, the 1 meg resistor, is acting as a noise gate, stock, okay? The mod is supposed to make the distortion smoother and less high frequencies and just make it all around a better distortion. So there's the trade-off. You can not have the built-in noise gates, or you can have the mod have a smoother sounding distortion, and we're going to test that, okay? Now that I've gone through this and made sure that these on switches are doing what they're supposed to, or what I've always thought they were to. So like basically when it's down, it does the opposite end of the two lanes of little prongs. Okay, so I'll show you a diagram of this. Okay, there it is. So basically when it's down, it's hitting the top two, but when it's up, it's hitting the bottom two. So your middle is your output, which is what I always thought it was. But doing this mod and being confused about the noise gate and what it's actually supposed to do, smooth out the distortion, all that stuff, right? So what I'm going to do is show you guys, since we have this all mic'd up and stuff, what this sounds like. Okay, so this is basically stock. When it's down, it's in stock position. Okay, that means the 1 meg resistor is in circuit. Now when I flip this, now you can hear a bunch of noise, right? That means it's the mod. Basically, it's a jumper. Okay, so the resistor is taken out of the circuit and it's a jumper from one side to the other. So let's see if there's a difference between the distortion for this R100 mod. So this is stock. Let's go ahead and start going back to the to middle with this. I don't have my knobs on it just because I was going back and forth with it. But all right, so basically we're at noon with the gain, and the gain knob is pushed in. Okay. And EQ is at noon pretty much. Yeah. Okay. That's at noon. That's at noon. All right. So let's see if there's a difference in the distortion. Flip it on. Flip it off. Flip it on. Okay. I'm not hearing a big difference here. And yeah, people are going to hate the fact that I'm doing this, or finding out, I should say, that I'm not hearing much of a difference here. So I'll go through the gain gambit here to see if this is actually doing something. All right, so let's go back. Let's bring the gain back to about 9 o'clock. All right, so we're at 9 o'clock. Let's see the difference between them, right? All right, so that's with it on. This is with it stock. On. Stock. On. Stock. You know, I don't mean to be a myth buster whatsoever, and this is not doing anything that I would have expected it to. So, and nothing, you know, to the people who've created these mods or anything, but there just isn't much feedback about people doing it and saying, yes, this is what I hear. And this is what this series is all about, is doing the right mods for your amp, you know? And I hate to say it, but I don't suggest this mod. I'll even go up 3 o'clock with the gain, and then I'll try it without the gain button on. So this whole time the gain button's been on. Okay, so it's pushing more gain. Tell you what, since we're down here low, I'm gonna turn the gain off, the gain button, and then let's see if there's a difference there, right? All right, so this is stock. Okay, here's the mod on. Stock. All right, on. I'm trying to play riffs that are a little dynamic so we can hear the difference. All right, so now let's go 3 o'clock with the gain button out. Tell you what, let's even, you know what, let me go back. I do want to try something, since we'll have a better difference with the gain out. Let's go ahead and take the boost volume off too. I don't know if that messes with this mod or not, but let's see. Okay, so now let's go back to stock. Okay, and the mod. Stock. I don't know if I just lost the register for the annoying high frequencies or something, but I'm not hearing it, man. Let's go up with the gain to about half. This is the mod on. And stock. Let me get in front of the cab. Let me try that, because I'm always at the side of it. Stock, or mod on. Stock. Yeah. No, I'm not hearing it. Okay. So I'm going to utilize that switch for like the Mesa mod or something, and I'd rather it's be gated, even if it's not the greatest gate in the world, but just for reference, we turn that on, turn the gain up to about 3 o'clock or so, and you can hear it. That's with the mod on, and that's with the mod off. I personally would rather that. So, well, I guess I have to do this too. Let's go ahead and hear this. So this is with its stock. Maybe we'll hear a difference here, because that did sound really like piercing, to tell you the truth. So, off. Ah, man. Okay. Sorry to say, guys, but I think this is a bust. And I'll show you guys again. This is exactly what I did, so a jumper across the modded version. So there's it's just a jumper, and then you have the resistor on the other side. Sorry, but I don't know that this one does anything. Next.